All right, so I'm going to try to focus on you and not Scout, but we're going to talk about Scout too. So,
Sure.
Tell me about you. How long have you lived in Salem?
Yeah, I have lived in Salem. It has been 3 years now. I moved here in 2000 and would have been 16.
Live math, I know.
Sorry. Yeah, not a math teacher. And I moved here to start a job at Salem Academy. So I accepted a job in the beginning of April, moved out here 2 weeks.
From where?
So we were living in Waltham, and we had only lived there for a couple years, but we had moved from Michigan in 2015. So, and I had moved working from home, and then that job was just not working out. And so the job at Salem Academy opened up, and I was like, perfect. And I've always just felt really connected to Salem, and it was just a really great fit. And so 3 weeks later, we had a place, and we were already moved in, and I started the following week, and it's been great.
So you said you lived in Waltham a little bit prior to that. So how does one end up coming from Michigan to Massachusetts?
Sure. So my partner actually accepted a postdoctoral fellowship at the Bedford VA as a postdoctoral clinical fellow for LGBTQ veterans, doing clinical psychology for them. So that was her postdoc. And so that's what brought us out here in the first place. And then me getting the job at Salem Academy is what has like solidified us staying here. So.
All right. Yeah. So enough about you. Let's talk about your cat.
Yes.
How long has Scout lived in Salem?
Yeah.
Did Scout come with you?
No. So Scout's only been in Salem for 2 years. She'll be 2 in June. She comes from upstate New York, Plattsburgh, actually. And we got her as a kitten. She's probably about 6 weeks old. We had just lost one of our rabbits, and we weren't ready to get another rabbit at that time, and we were open to getting another cat. So there was an adoption event that just happened to be going on, and my partner's never had gotten a kitten before, and I have, and I knew how this works. I was like, we're gonna go and we're gonna have another cat by the end of this, and she was like, no, we're just gonna go look, and I was like, okay, we're gonna have a cat, and I mean, reality was we were gonna look for a cat that was the right fit, and she was definitely the right fit.
How did you know that?
So one of the things, we were looking for a cat that we could have as an adventure cat. That was one of our goals. And so we could just tell by her personality. Yep.
Is that an actual thing?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
The term is adventure cat.
Yep, adventure cat. There is websites that sell adventure cat gear. There's an adventure cat conference. They're Instagram's adventure cat following is huge. There's so many that are going out on mountains every day and beaches, swimming in Hawaii, all sorts of stuff. So
because I can't even begin to imagine even trying to put a harness on the trash gremlin that I live.
Oh yeah, I've heard about your cat.
Yeah, she's a bit of a monster.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So you've groomed Scout into being okay with being in a library.
So that was obviously one of our first goals was to make her an adventure cat, and a lot of its personality. I've noticed that a lot of the adventure cats on Instagram are black cats, so I think there is definitely something with the personality. But we started off as soon as we got her, putting her in a harness. One of our first events was the Maritime Bark Ranger walk, and she was this 6-week-old tiny little kitten, and she was the first and only feline bark ranger, as far as I know. So we do that every year. And so now when we're out there doing that, she's this little cat, and she has this following of dogs, and she just looks like she's a gang leader of dogs, and they just follow her, and it doesn't bother her. So we started off with that, and the harness has never been an issue. So that's where we really started getting her going. So
what do you think Scout is doing, and what are you doing through Scout to make Salem a better place?
Sure. So there's a couple things that we do. So one, we're just out and about in Salem all the time. We walk downtown. We're all around. So just the pure getting people to see cats not inside, and showing that cats do go outside, and just that joy that she brings people. Obviously Salem being a tourist town. Like there's a lot of people that come into Salem and they see Scout and they're like, this is the best part of my day. I've had like people during Halloween be like, I came to Salem and my only hope was to see a black cat, and this is the first black cat that I saw. So
that's great.
that at its like purest level, and people's just joy to see like a cat out in public is like one really great thing. On top of that, the black cat thing. So I mean, black cats are really hard to adopt. So having Scout out in public is really helpful for like the black cat community, and showing that like black cats are great pets, and
She
that
comes just to let you know that she's here, right into the shot. Way to go, Scout. Let's see if I can focus.
Sure.
Oh, she's seen something that she likes.
I think she sees those ears back there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I grew up with a black cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that.
Yeah, and like that's the black cats are the like last ones to get adopted in shelters, and so like I think just having a black cat out in general so that people can interact with her is definitely helping the like black cat community and showing that like they're great pets. But then I think
right into the lens.
On top of that, she's a registered therapy cat. So
Yeah. So tell me about that.
yeah, so registered therapy animals are animals that can provide animal-assisted interventions or animal-assisted therapy, and that like what that consists of is really helping reduce stress and anxiety in people. So it's known that animals just really help with decreasing stress and anxiety in lots of situations, and so we actually just had our first therapy event yesterday at Tufts University for finals week, and she helps reduce some final stress for some students there.
That's awesome.
So that event consisted of us just like going and hanging out and letting people pet her and interact with her. But therapy events can come from, or can be anything from like that type of event where they just like pet and interact, visiting hospitals or senior centers.
Yeah.
But they can also be like interventions, so like going to schools and working with kids for reading, so the kids reading to her and doing like fluency and stuff like that.
Cool.
So yesterday was her first one, but we are actually working with Salem Public Library to do some Read with Scout events so that kids can come and read books to Scout. And our first one's going to be on June 1st. So those are some events that are going to start happening.
And that kind of ties
soon.
together your educational background.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So
and your cat foreground.
yeah, and that like came about one just like because I want to take Scout everywhere with me. So,
Yeah.
and one of the things was like, oh, if I could take Scout to work with me, that would just like be the best. There's a lot more details into it. It's not just that easy, but so that's part of like where the therapy cat part came in. And she just, once we got her out and interacting with people, we just wanted to be able to share that with more people. So that was why we started doing it.
Did you ever get the rabbit?
The
You weren't ready for another rabbit. Did you ever get a rabbit?
Yeah. So, so we had two rabbits at the time. So we had Milo and Lily. And Milo, so Lily was the one that passed, and then we got Scout. So Milo actually, he was dealing with a year-long battle with an infection, and so we actually just lost him about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Now I'm going out on a downer.
I know.
My bad. Sorry.
We
I'll cut this part out.
we saw that like we knew that was coming,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
very sad. But we did just adopt a 9-week-old little baby bunny, and her name is Miko. And our goal is to also have her as a therapy rabbit as well. So she's a little ball of fluff and energy. So.
Thank you for rescuing that. Now we can go out on a high
Yes,
note.
exactly.
Yeah.
So she is like, it's like that angry, like cute angry syndrome where you get so angry you like,
You wanna
I just
squish
want to
it?
squish
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
That's what she is.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
All right. Next time, bring the bunny.
We will. Yes. We just got a clean bill of health, so she's like ready to go. So,
Killer.
yeah.
Well, Scout and Megan, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great.
How about a round of applause for Scout and Megan? We actually have an audience.
Good job, Scout. What do you think?